turns out 72% wish they had opened a Roth IRA earlier in their careers.
Ooh.
So let's break this down a little bit, shall we?
Yeah.
I'm Heather Branch. This is certified financial planner, Michigan's retirement coach, Mike Douglas. Find us anytime, michigansretirementcoach.com. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there if it is more convenient. The conversation around Roths has been, I mean, has there been a more celebrated word in the world of financial and retirement planning than the word Roth in the last 5 years? I just feel like everybody's like, Roth.
Well, especially with
everybody's favorite team.
Knowing that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was going to go up.
Yeah.
It was like, so when we were talking about Roth in 16, 17, 18,
yeah.
It was not all the rage. It was not as trendy, or it wasn't on every single social media financial clip.
Yeah.
Right? But now it's like hot. It's hot to try. Everything's like, and then you say, oh, okay, how much should I do? Well, hold on. You need to talk to your CPA about that.
Right. Well.
So you just kind of like clickbaited me into realizing I should do something, and you're like, go do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, I've got the perfect solution to weight loss. What is it? Go work out. Okay.
Go work out.
All
Right.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Avoid sugar. Good, great.
Unsubscribe.
No, but you just brought up the whole DIY thing as well, because something else that I feel that has happened in conjunction with the rise of the Roth popularity is DIY investing. I'm not saying people aren't smart and they're not hardworking. Of course they are. I just feel that it's probably been easier to DIY the last 15 years because of the market run that we have had. I mean, you think about people, like I think about my dad, he's from New York City. He went to Wharton. He's a proud man. And he's DIY'd his investments his whole life. And he did it through the 90s and through the early 2000s and 2008. This is a man who has seen some stuff and knows some things. Mm-hmm. For people that are my age, 45, 50, we've had it pretty good. And so there's been a lot of really good DIY opportunities. So now that we see all this back and forth, we're not accustomed to this and we don't really know what to do with the circumstance that we're in. But I think a lot of people have had questions because of the market ups and downs. It's like, okay, well, how do we take advantage of opportunities? So let's break this down a little bit. This survey, it was done by Fidelity. It found that 72% of current retirees wish they had opened a Roth IRA earlier in their careers. They said they missed the tax-free growth and withdrawals. So again, learning lessons from those who have come before us. We talk about traditional IRAs to Roth conversions. We have talked about that before on the podcast. How difficult is it to do? How difficult is it to do it yourself? Which I think that's a trickier business. Mm-hmm. And what are the benefits? And I guess maybe more importantly, when should you not Roth convert?
Yeah, these are great questions. So let's start with the first, Roth conversion. And if you follow our content here, we've talked about Roth quite a bit in the past, but we're going to keep bringing it up because there's some misinformation out there about Roth, but at the same time, there's a desire for good, clean understanding. So first of all, just taking money that's never been taxed and putting it into a Roth IRA is Roth conversion. My IRA goes over to my Roth. I pay taxes on it. That's a Roth conversion.
Yep.
So that is it's a very beautiful thing for most people. It doesn't work for everybody. But should you Roth convert? It's a tax situation. So when you do it, it creates taxes. So if you convert $30,000 of Roth IRA money, you're going to get a 1099 for your taxes that says $30,000 of taxable income. That's a number. It could potentially jump you into a new tax bracket. If you're retired, it could trigger more taxes on your Social Security. If you're close up to a certain point, it could increase your Medicare premiums if you Roth convert too much at the wrong time. So that's something to know. It is income. It's not separated out as a capital gain or whatever. It is ordinary income. So when you Roth convert, it's taxes. And as a result, you need to know that not just what it does over here, but what does it do in these other spots? My Medicare premiums go up, my Social Security, all these other things. So figure that in.
Okay.
So that's what Roth conversion is, taking pre-tax money, putting it into a Roth. Yep. There are some great benefits to it, though. Like, I don't want to make it sound like this is a negative thing. It's not. We've been harping on this, ringing this bell for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. The power of Roth conversion is this. When I put money into a Roth and I invest it in the market, as the law is written today, it's never taxed again. Never pay taxes. So the interest I earn, never taxed. There's a 5-year rule that we have to deal with, but it's a very easy rule to deal with. From the day you open and fund your first Roth IRA, once you get 5 years through the first 5 years, your gains in the future and back to day one are all tax-free. So that's a beautiful thing. And I tell people all the time, you don't have to work with me, but you have to go open up a Roth IRA and throw $100 in it. You have to just get that thing rolling, and that way down the line, should you decide to be more participatory in it and you want to really get heavy, then do it. But if nothing else, get one open and get it running. So once you're past that 5-year mark, all of your interest from day one moving forward is tax-free. I love that. So if you're talking about in a portfolio, where that fits and how to adjust, if I have a balanced portfolio, some money is kind of more conservative, some's more moderate, some's more aggressive, okay? Now, this is not a recommendation. I'm not telling you how to invest. This is something I like, that I believe in. This is not a direct recommendation of investment advice. Have we made that clear, Heather, right? This is not a direct recommendation.
That's correct.
I'm not giving broad advice to everybody. But here's what I do in our portfolios with our clients. My conservative money tends to be my taxable money, my pre-tax money that is never been taxed, so every dollar that ever comes out will be taxed. My Roth money is the most aggressive money we have. Well, because if I have a balanced portfolio and something earns 10%, something earns 7%, something earns 4%, the 10%, I want that to be the one where they don't get to pay, and I don't have to pay any taxes on the interest. So my most aggressive, and also when you get started with Roth, it's the smallest portion of your portfolio. So your risk is the smallest portion, and your safe money is a little more stable. Okay. So that's the first thing. I like it to be the most aggressive money. It's a great tool that way. Okay. Secondly, if we look at so the first thing, understand it, convert it, and make it, most likely I would say I make the most aggressive thing you have. The second thing is there's no required minimum distributions. As the law is written today is April 14th, 2025. There is no RMD, required minimum distribution, at age 73, which means that you never have to take the money out of the accounts. You put money in there, it's off the tax grid and off the distribution grid from the IRS as long as you live. So you don't have to do anything with it.
Okay.
I like that because down the line, there is a certain chunk of money, if you have pre-tax savings, that will be required to come out of your accounts. The government has a table that says at certain ages you have to take out so much per year, and they basically annuitize your IRA, and you have to do that. Well, we are trying to build these tax-free, distribution requirement-free retirements for people. That way you have no taxes due in retirement, as much income as you'd like, and we're trying to build it in a way where the government doesn't get to tell you when to take it. But that requires getting money out of the pre-tax accounts, getting them all into Roth. So that's an option. You have no required distributions. I like that. I like the government not having a say in when we take it out.
Yeah. I think everybody would agree with that.
Yeah, and that's where, when you go through these, understanding the benefits. Another one is just an interesting one in a distribution-based thought, right? So when I'm in retirement, I'm taking money out for different things. I always kind of say the same things: a cruise, a kitchen, or other vacations. If you're remodeling a kitchen, and when you get a quote from the builder and it's $30,000, and builders get paid in the net. They don't get paid in the gross, right? So, for example, if I go to my 401k and I pull out $30,000, and then I pay the feds, pay the state, and I go to the builder with $22,000,
$35,000, right?
Yeah. I can't go to them with the $22,000 I have left and say, "Here you go, build a kitchen." They're going to say, "No fridge, no stove, no countertops," right? But so I have to go get $35,000, $36,000, $37,000.
Yeah.
Withhold taxes and get it there. Well, at today's tax rates, which are historically low tax rates compared to most of the time we've had our tax system, that's about as cheap as it's going to get. It's $36,000, $37,000 for a $30,000 kitchen. And then when you walk through that kitchen afterwards, you go, people say, "How much was it?" Well, your first thought is $30,000.
$30,000. But it wasn't.
It was 36, 37.
36,
you walk around, okay. And then imagine taxes go up a little bit, right? Like Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, let's say it hasn't been locked in yet. President Trump saying he's going to lock it in, but if he doesn't, taxes are set to go back up to where they were. So the 12% bracket goes to 15, the 22 goes to 25, and so on. And so the kitchen doesn't cost $36,000; it costs $39,000. Now you're walking through the kitchen saying, this is not a $39,000 kitchen. I should have got
I
2 stoves for
I budgeted
$39,000.
$30,000. Where is my $9,000 vacation that I had
Yeah.
promised my spouse? We were going to go to Italy finally.
Yeah, or even just walking through the kitchen saying,
Yeah.
where's the extra $9,000? There's no Sub-Zero freezer. There's no walk-in pantry. There's nothing like that. It's just a regular kitchen.
It's just new countertops.
I got 1 stove like a chump, and that's just a small step up in taxes. But think
Yeah.
down the road. We got a lot of debt. We have a lot of people going on to public benefits like Social Security and Medicare as they walk into retirement. This is not like a people on the benefits, but people who actually have paid in over the last 40 years and now they're going on the benefits. That's the group I'm talking about specifically. The largest generation in history ever to come through the Social Security system and the Medicare system and the Medicaid system. It's unfunded. We have no money for it. Look on usdebtclock.org. About $120 trillion of unfunded promises to pay as it relates to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
So taxes will have to go up in some form or fashion in the future.
Yeah.
And when they do, if they go up 10% per bracket, that kitchen just costs $45,000. And you've got 1 stove like a chump, right? So the thing is just knowing that how your spendability. We talk about inflation as like, oh gosh, inflation is eating away at my spendability and it's causing my monthly bills to go up. Tax increases do the same thing. So what does a Roth IRA do? It creates this bucket, this safety net of tax-free money.
Mm-hmm.
So down the line, and I also didn't cover that when you go to take that money out to do your kitchen, it could trigger more taxes on your Social Security. And so we ran an analysis for someone where it was a $30,000 withdrawal, and it triggered an extra $9,000 in taxes on their Social Security. So it's not $39,000 or $45,000. It ends up being $50,000 for a $30,000 kitchen because it triggered taxes on their Social Security. And that's crazy. That's too much money. So knowing that if we have this bucket of Roth IRA money, because if now I have 30 grand in a Roth and the builder says it's $30,000, I already paid taxes on the money to get it into the Roth.
Okay.
And now if it's been past the 5-year mark, I just go through and say, all right, I'll take $30,000 out of my Roth, pay my builder $30,000, knowing that the tax has been prepaid.
Mm-hmm.
It does not trigger Roth IRA distributions, as the law is written today. Does not trigger any tax on your Social Security. It does not raise your Medicare premiums. It does not trigger any issues like that. So as a result, the kitchen costs you $30,000 plus whatever you prepaid in taxes at a safe rate earlier. It's a much better way to do distributions if things go crazy. So we built a diversification and a hedge, not like by buying different investments, but by tax diversification. So it's kind of a nerdy way to think about it, but I'm using taxes as a leverage against future taxes. I'm going to pay taxes now, settle up. That way down the line, if I need some cash, I'm good. I've already settled up. From that perspective, it's almost like buying a commodity or something, saying, I'm going to buy it at today's rate. Down the line, if I need it, if crap hits the fan, if things go crazy, I've got this hedge of tax-free money. So those are the big things to me. Tax-free interest for the future, no required distributions, and a hedge. If taxes go crazy, I have this chunk of money that I can pull and get out tax-free whenever I need it. The fourth thing is really a benefit to your kids and grandkids, which if that matters to you, matters to some people, but that whatever you pass on to your kids will be tax-free as well. Mm-hmm. And it is not the best way to pass on money tax-free to your kids. I'll be clear about that. There are better strategies out there, in my opinion, that can partner with the Roth, but there's limits to what you can do with the Roth. A Roth still has to be distributed in 10 years. You cannot create multi-generational wealth through a Roth IRA. There are other strategies we use for that. If that's a thought that you have or concern, shoot us a message and we'll talk about it. But there are good multi-generational tools. So I think Roth's worth it for most people.
Right.
There are some people, though, we say if you do Roth conversion, you got to pay tax on Social Security, you got to do this, that, so it doesn't make sense. So just finding the sweet spot of where it fits, that's Roth conversion in a nutshell.
Well, should we talk a little bit further about people that perhaps should not do Roth? I mean, you were pointing out that circumstance where it bumped up your Social Security taxes. I mean, I feel like for most people, utilizing Roth opportunities in some way, shape, or form is a good thing. But there are some circumstances where it's like, you should not do this, or at least not right now. We need to not do this now. We need to look at other circumstances.
Yeah, I had some clients who came in and they were, they hear my podcast. They listen to the radio. They see the things we talk about, and they say, "Hey, I know you're talking Roth IRA. I love it. Let's do it." And we run the numbers, and I'm all about it. We go through, we put it into the plans, and before we ever do anything, we run our analysis 6 ways from Sunday, just make sure that we're completely prepared. And as we went through, one of the things we built for them several years ago was a tax-free retirement. The idea that if we knew they have so much in IRAs, but because of the way we were able to set up their income, they don't pay taxes federal on any of their income. And so it was a beautiful setup. They do that. They don't have to pay anything. So we started talking about if they should do Roth conversion, and we realized that Roth conversion was not just about the Roth conversion and paying taxes there, but it immediately triggered taxes on their Social Security.
Okay.
And it became a much bigger issue. So we went through the analysis, and they said, but we have this big chunk of pre-tax IRA money that's never been taxed, and we want to do something with it. But I also know that in their plans, they plan on leaving a good chunk of their money to charity.
Okay.
And so if you have almost all pre-tax IRAs and most of that is going to charities, why would you Roth convert and pay the taxes? Let the charities inherit the money and let it go through the process that way. It's just a different way of thinking. There are strategies to use, but we had already really built a tax-free retirement for them. And so the Roth conversion was not of benefit the way it is for most other people. For most people, there's a huge benefit, and it's a no-brainer. You just got to find the right number, and we have software that really dials in exactly what makes sense for you.
Yeah.
We even had someone who recently, we did the contribution, and it wasn't like they weren't incomed out or anything. But we said for the year of 2024, we needed to do a quick contribution to lower them into a threshold. And so we did them and their spouse's IRA contribution. It contributed in, lowered their income for 2024. And then we did that like 3 weeks ago. So a March contribution, did it, and then immediately Roth converted it, because in 2025 taxes, it made sense to Roth convert. 2024 taxes, we needed the contribution to lower us down a little bit.
Okay.
So there's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
It's dialed in.
Yeah.
But I say it's kind of like when you're trying to land a plane, right? There's a million dials, but there's a few you have to be really, really good at.
Right.
So that's Roth conversion. There's a lot of options of what you can do, but what we dial in specifically is maximum benefit, least taxation. That's kind of the whole model. So that's what we do.
And that's the perspective for everything, whether or not Roth conversion is part of that end goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal for everybody, right?
Yeah. I mean, I worked really hard, saved all this money. Don't let it go to the government unnecessarily. You can't skip taxes.
No.
Taxes are a part of it. If you're out there listening, government, I'm not saying skip taxes. Big government, big media. But what I'm saying is that don't contribute unnecessarily. Right. Do your part, do what you have to do, and nothing more. And
because
that's all we're trying to do.
Haven't you already paid enough in taxes throughout
every year?
Every single one of your working years.
Yeah.
You paid your taxes while you were trying to raise your family, while you were paying your bills and having to save for retirement, because for a lot of people, pensions have gone the way of the dinosaur. Here's to you, good men and women who've worked so hard to get to this place. Let's now work to find ways to make your money work for you harder in retirement. This is what Mike and his team are here to help you with. MichigansRetirementCoach.com is our website, and where to start the conversation with Mike and his team about how Roth conversion may or may not be in your favor, work in your favor. Let's do the math, crunch the numbers on your retirement savings and investments. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there, or again, find us anytime, MichigansRetirementCoach.com.